The NBA draft can change the futures of players and teams. Past draft picks have included generational talents,
Victor Wembanyama,
future Hall of Famers who will lead teams for years,
Shaquille O'Neal from Louisiana State,
Tim Duncan from Wake Forest University,
and players who could go on to become the greatest of all time.
LeBron James.
Throws up the floater. Golf glass. Good night.
2 seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer.
These draft picks matter, and yet the NBA assigns teams their positions with a random system where they pull lottery balls out of a machine. Through the NBA's history, the lottery has produced many shocking moments, from teams transforming overnight to one specific piece of clothing that defied all odds. Forget everything you think you know about draft picks. This is a lottery ruled by Lady Luck. Or is it? Let's find out. In the 1960s, the National Basketball Association decided to implement a new rule to determine who had a chance to receive the first pick in the draft: a coin flip. One team from each conference with the worst record would participate in this coin flip. The winner of the coin flip would receive the first pick and the loser the second. This very rudimentary system remained in place for 19 years and oversaw the picks of players like David Thompson,
Oh, what a play by David Thompson.
Bill Walton,
Top of the screen, and Walton rolled off the pick, beautiful.
and Magic Johnson.
Here's Magic. Goes for three. And he's got it.
Then, in the early 1980s, many believed that teams were intentionally losing games to give themselves a 50% chance at the first pick. For instance, the 1983-84 Houston Rockets were suspected of tanking to put themselves in the coin flip. After starting that season with 20 wins and 26 losses, the Rockets decided that their season's chances were basically over. They consistently began giving some of their worst players time on the court, winning only 9 more games after that and finishing the season with a 29-53 record. This was a bad enough record to put the Rockets into the coin flip, which they then won, and with their newly earned first overall pick,
The Houston Rockets select Hakeem Olajuwon of the University of Houston.
Olajuwon led the Rockets to 2 NBA championships. He retired a Hall of Famer and one of the greatest centers in NBA history. The NBA then decided that they didn't want to incentivize losing games, and so 2 years later, the league introduced the draft lottery. Initially, this was a simple system that gave all non-playoff teams an equal, random chance at each of the first picks. Now, this lottery system of uniform odds was short-lived, only lasting for 5 seasons. But during those 5 seasons, we got the still infamous frozen envelope. In the first ever NBA lottery drawing, the NBA commissioner at the time, David Stern, was in charge of picking envelopes to determine the order of the draft for all the non-playoff teams. This was also the draft with one of the most highly touted prospects in recent memory, with center Patrick Ewing. The envelopes were selected, and the first overall pick went to the New York Knicks.
Basketball is back in New York City, my friend.
Immediately, NBA fans were suspicious. Theories quickly arose, such as the Knicks envelope having a creased envelope to make it easier to pick, but none gained as much traction as the frozen envelope theory. This idea suggests that the league officials put the Knicks envelope in a freezer before then putting it with the rest of the envelopes. Then, when Stern was reaching into the bucket for the envelopes, all he had to do was feel around for the one that was cold, and voila, the biggest market in the country just got the first overall pick. And no one would be the wiser.
We know differently, and here's
Select Patrick Ewing.
Now, there is not a ton of hard evidence to support this conspiracy. Allegedly, one former GM recalls another high-ranking team executive being 100% convinced that Ewing was going to the Knicks, saying it's all arranged. Nowadays, the NBA uses ping pong balls in place of envelopes. Over the years, the lottery system has gone through some more changes. In 1990, it became a weighted system so that the worst teams would have a better chance at the higher picks. The worst team that season would have 11 chances out of 66, the second worst team would have 10, and so on. Then, in 1993, the Orlando Magic won the first overall pick, despite being the best non-playoff team in the past year. This record gave them only 1 entry out of 66, a 1.5% chance to win, yet they still did. And all of this tweaking and changing of the lottery system came to a head at Madison Square Garden in 2003. Let's meet the 2003 Cleveland Cavaliers. They are coming off a dismal 17-65 season, and they are desperate for a turnaround. On the bright side, however, this dire season gave them a 22.5% chance at obtaining the first overall pick. And so, hopes were high, but cautious in Cleveland. And then the moment arrived. The Cavs were awarded the first overall pick.
That the first pick in the 2003 NBA draft goes to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Congratulations, Gordon.
And this wasn't just any draft. This was the year that LeBron James was going to enter the league. At the time, he was a high school prodigy who could be the next big thing in the NBA. So excitement was palpable as LeBron, already a household name before setting foot on an NBA court, was selected by the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Select LeBron James.
Overnight, the Cavs went from a struggling franchise to the center of the basketball world with just one pick. This lottery didn't just bring a player to Cleveland. It brought hope, spotlight, and the beginning of a new era. Moving forward a few years, and it's 2011, the Cleveland Cavaliers are reeling from the recent departure of LeBron James to Miami, and they are again desperate for a turnaround. Now, it's worth noting that the actual lottery drawing takes place behind closed doors, in a private room with only select media members, NBA officials, and team representatives present, with the results announced on television to the public shortly after. So in this 2011 NBA draft, the Cavs were represented by minority owner Jeff Cohen, wearing a black tie with gray and white stripes. In this draft, the Cavaliers had a 23% chance to get the first overall pick. The lottery was drawn, and the Cavs again won it.
The number one pick in the 2011 NBA draft belongs to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
And with this pick, they drafted Kyrie Irving.
The Cleveland Cavaliers select Kyrie Irving from Duke University.
And we all know how that went.
Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown!
History was made tonight.
Fast forward 2 years, and the Cavaliers again send Jeff Cohen to the lottery drawing room, reportedly wearing that same black striped tie. With a 15.6% chance to do so, the Cavaliers again get the top pick. That's twice in just 3 years.
The Cleveland Cavaliers do it for the second time in the last 3 years.
The next year in 2014, the Cavaliers again find themselves in the lottery drawing room, and again, Jeff Cohen is a representative. Do I even need to tell you what he was wearing? This time, the Cavs have just a minuscule 1.7% chance at the first pick. They'd have better odds at pulling a card out of a deck and guessing it exactly. But it doesn't matter.
And that means that the number one pick in the 2014 NBA draft goes to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Winning that number one pick at just 1.7%. A look at the final order. Cleveland number one, Milwaukee sliding down to number two.
3 lotteries in 4 years, and a 0.06% chance to win all 3. The Cavs and their picks would go on to flip the NBA world upside down, making an appearance in the next 4 NBA Finals, albeit due in larger part to the return of LeBron James. I'd also like to mention that Nick Gilbert, son of Cavaliers owner Dan Gilbert, represented the team on the TV announcement broadcasts, including the 2011 and 2013 drafts where they won the first pick. In 2023, Nick passed away from neurofibromatosis, a genetic disease for which there is currently no known cure. There's no doubt that Nick's presence played a large role in the fortune of the Cavs franchise during those years.
Well, first I want to thank Nick, the luck of the Nick.
And his legacy will live on through his stylish bow ties and his unrelenting advocacy for the fight against NF. Throughout the 2010s, the Cavs defied everything that we thought was possible in the NBA lottery. Then, in 2016, conspiracy theorists got some great material when Dikembe Mutombo tweeted out a congratulatory message for the 76ers for getting the first overall pick 2.5 hours before the drawing took place. Then, when the 76ers actually ended up with the first pick later that evening, the damage was done. To many, the NBA lottery was rigged, and that was that.
I cannot believe what just happened. How does the team with the highest odds not get the #1 pick? It makes no sense.
We were the worst team in the NBA. We deserve to be rewarded.
Let's move forward 3 years to 2019. This draft promised to be one of the biggest in decades. Zion Williamson was coming off a high school career and year at Duke where he was dominating every team in his path.
Almost demolished him on that block.
Not getting in front of Zion Williamson when he goes to the basket is a great decision on one's individual health.
He was a no-doubter first pick and one of the highest graded prospects since Lebron. And so, for the Zion draft, every team was pulling out all the superstitious stops they could think of. The build-up to find out who would receive the first pick and inevitably take Zion was immense. After months of anticipation, the moment arrived.
The #1 pick in the 2019 NBA draft goes to the New Orleans Pelicans.
Wow.
With just a 6% chance of the first pick, the Pelicans were now sitting at the most coveted seat in the league. Upon hearing this, Alvin Gentry, the Pelicans head coach, is elated.
Congratulations to New Orleans for winning the first pick in the 2019 NBA lottery.
Do you recognize anything? Alvin Gentry is wearing the exact same tie worn by Jeff Cohen for the Cavaliers' 3 miraculous lottery wins. The tie was given to Gentry by David Griffin, New Orleans Executive Vice President of Basketball Operations.
Yeah, so Jeff Cohen, who was with us in Cleveland, had worn that tie for all 3 of his wins. And I called him and I said, hey, I need a little help. And he said, Griff, there's no such thing as a lucky totem. There is nothing like that. If you see it, you can believe it. You don't need anything like a lucky rabbit's foot or anything like that. And I said, yeah, okay, can I have the tie? So he sent us the tie. So that's where that came from.
The chance of the wearer of this tie winning all 4 of these lotteries is just 0.003%. There are only 3 4-time lottery winners in NBA history: the Los Angeles Clippers, the Orlando Magic, and Jeff Cohen's black and gray stripes tie. Depending on if you're a fan of a team who the lottery has been kind to or not, you might see this lottery as a cruel or a fair system. Whatever the case, the NBA lottery has for decades shaped the landscape of the league and its teams. By inviting Lady Luck into the draft, the NBA has introduced a system where fans of struggling teams can maintain that crucial hope that they will be the next ones to invite that new star player onto their roster. They just might need to find that lucky necktie. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you should subscribe right here on YouTube for more content about sports like this one. For instance, I recently posted one about bowling and Pete Weber's famous win at the 2012 US Open, where he shouted, "Who do you think you are? I am." It's such an iconic moment and it was fun to write about. I hope you go check it out. I'll see you in the next one.